Grace Van Berkum, welcome to Being. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you today.
I know. So Grace and I have known each other for, I was just thinking about it earlier, it's like 25 years or maybe longer.
Wow.
That's insane.
Wow.
We were in the same social circles back in Toronto, Canada. And I have one significant memory of you that I think I've told you before, but I'm just going to say it again here. We used to go out dancing in the same social circles.
Yeah.
We ended up at one club called Industry one night. And I remember specifically being on ecstasy that night. And you came over we were dancing in the same sort of circle. And you came over and I was like dancing like this with my mouth open and like, oh, it's having a great time. And you came over and you're like, Pat, you look like you're having an orgasm. And I'm like, Grace, isn't that the whole point? I don't know why I remember that moment. It pops into my memory anytime I think about you. So I just thought I'd start with that as a funny anecdote. But interestingly, like we really haven't connected in those 25 years, but I had been sort of following your trajectory online and just watching your transformation and your blossoming into this beautiful human being that you've become. And I remember reaching out to you, maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I was sort of struggling, trying to awaken myself, trying to heal myself, trying to escape the grips of alcohol. And you were just so supportive in the things you were saying to me. And I'll always be super grateful for that as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, totally. And you're super inspiring, your path and your trajectory and your business. It's been great to watch you develop to the point that you have, and so many people that have been affected by your path and your courage to go down the path you've gone. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe it's a good place to start. Like, what has your personal journey been like? How did you transition, because we didn't really know each other that well in Toronto, but, we were in the same sort of party scene. How did you really embrace this path and find this journey that you've been on?
I come from a very tumultuous childhood. I was in and out of foster homes till the age of 10.
Oh, wow.
I dealt a lot with abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. And because of that, I developed addictions at a very young age to numb myself and to kind of deal with things. And my very first addiction was at 4 years old, and that was sugar.
Wow.
And I discovered early on at 4 years old that if I ate copious amounts of sugar, I would get super high. And that would actually, in my mind, it would create this invisible shield to protect me from the abuse that I was going through. So, and anyone who knows who's addicted to sugar knows that it's hard to stop. Like, you can't stop eating sugar. So I would eat I would eat bags of brown sugar. I would drink bottles of corn syrup, like that kind of stuff as a 4-year-old is crazy, or as any age. And over the years, my sugar addictions moved into food addictions. I ate copious amounts of food to numb myself from the pain. Later on, my food addictions turned into eating disorders because I discovered, I could eat copious amounts of food and make myself throw up or starve myself for a few days after, and nobody would know that I was eating that much food in secret in closets, kind of thing.
Wow.
And from there, I developed drug addictions and alcohol addictions. And I hit a point in my late 20s. And it dawned on me one day that I was going to either die at a young age, or I was going to lead a very miserable life if I didn't deal with my what was causing the addictions. I knew that it was more than just getting sober, and it was more than healing my food addictions. I'm like, where is this coming from? Yes. And what am I doing? And why am I doing this? And I knew that it came from really deep self-hatred. So first step was just, getting sober at that time. I was really scared to get sober because I was scared that once I got sober from drugs and alcohol, that suddenly I would have to deal with my eating issues again. I hated my relationship with food. I hated my relationship with myself. So I knew that not only did I need to get sober, but I needed to fix the way that I looked at food and my body. So one thing led to another. I found nutrition school. I got sober. I went back to school, changed my life. Like, suddenly I was able to understand what food does to my body. And suddenly I was able to understand how the food got to the plate and what it does to your internal organs, to your brains, to your liver, all these kind of things. And it was just like my whole life opened up. Not only was I sober and starting to thrive, but I was looking at food as a way to heal myself, as opposed to food was the enemy. So once I graduated from school, I was like, man, like, my life has changed in 2 years from just like sobering up and learning how to eat. But so many people don't know this. And like, this is the kind of stuff we should be learning in school, and everybody should understand, about food and how it affects the body. So I became very passionate, of course, about being a nutritionist and helping people change their lives through food. And I became very passionate about helping people on their sober journeys as well, and helping, using food as a way to enhance your life and as part of the sober process too, and healing process. And that's kind of where it took me today. I knew within me that all the pain and suffering and abuse that I'd gone through as a child, I was meant to go through that and overcome it, and then to teach people what I know. And I knew that, that was the meaning of my life. And I really do feel like this is the meaning of everyone's life. We need to really deal with our past traumas and stuff we've learned as children that isn't necessarily our crap. It's somebody else's crap put on us. And, I know some people don't have childhood issues either, but we all have something that we need to overcome in our lives. And once we do, I feel like it's our duty as humans to share that with others and to help others going through the same thing. And this is, this gives us meaning, and it gives fulfillment to our lives. So I knew that I went through what I did because I was supposed to help people in this way through food and through their own self-love journeys. And then 5 years ago, I found some land in Nicaragua, in northern Nicaragua, and my dream was always to build a wellness center. So I embarked on that, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was very passionate that I had to get this done, and I'm still in it. I mean, I'm on year 4 of business, and still always lots of things to do. And I'm trying to build gardens right now, so I'm fully self-sustainable here. And we just got solar, and I'm just working on growing a center here that's a safe space for people to heal, to recalibrate, to transform their lives, and, to have more clarity in their lives. So I get lots of people coming from rehabs, or coming because their health is suffering, or coming because they just got divorced, or coming because they want to lose weight, like lots of different reasons. But the whole foundation of this place is really taking a look at someone's lifestyle and figuring out how to change the lifestyle so that you're happier and healthier and, more inspired in your own life.
Yes. Oh my God, that is amazing. I'm so inspired by your journey, and it's so much that resonated in that answer I want to ask you about. But one major theme is how trauma can lead to addiction. And it's one of the fundamental causes of addiction. Actually, the last guest I had on, Benjamin Castillo, spoke to this beautifully about how we have our individual traumas that show up as individual addictions, but we also have the collective traumas that show up as collective addictions, which I thought was a really powerful model to think about. But coming back to the individual, myself included, when I was trying to sort of escape from alcohol, I recognized how ingrained in my identity it was. And in my culture, in my social scene, in my family, everybody were drinkers. So the idea of removing myself from that was so difficult. And I'm curious about, because if you're not doing what everybody else is doing, you risk being ostracized from the tribe. You okay?
Yeah, my neighbor's dog just showed up in my room, and I was sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so you risk being separated or cast out from the tribe, which is a form of trauma as well, right? So I'm curious about when you were first sort of recognizing, okay, this path can't continue. I need to make changes. How did you summon the courage? Like I mentioned earlier, I want to make this as practical as possible for people who might be in that position now, who want to make a change, but they don't know what the first steps are. How can they take the first steps to move out of addiction or trauma?
I mean, for me, I hit a rock bottom, and it wasn't like I hit several rock bottoms, and anyone who hits rock bottoms continues to knows that each rock bottom gets worse and worse and more intense, and it's harder to get yourself out of it. And I see rock bottom as a blessing and a gift, because as when you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up. And it's like a cracking open where the light can come in, and it's a surrendering. Because, if you don't hit the rock bottom, like for me, without hitting the rock bottom, I was still trying to do things my own way, or what I thought was the right way to do things. But when there was nowhere else to go, because I was so depleted and I was so sad and so confused, that it made me open to, other inspirations. It made me open to other ideas. Like, clearly something was not working for me, and I couldn't continue running anymore. So this act of surrendering is where I feel like you start to receive universal energy or God energy or whatever you want to call it, because like there's nothing else, and like in those moments I prayed, and I'm not religious, but I prayed for signs, and I prayed for guidance, and I prayed, to start having the courage. I prayed for courage to go down this path, and I didn't know what the path was, but I had to try something. So, I'm a big fan of praying for those things. Like when you want to get sober, you don't know how, praying for guidance from the universe. I feel when you actually put those intentions and those words and vibrations out there, it starts to be revealed to you at a quicker rate. You're open to seeing the signs, or the people show up that are there to help you. Reaching out for help. Because I didn't really reach out for help till I hit my rock bottom, because I thought I could do things on my own. And part of my trauma was thinking that I could endure everything, and that it was a weakness to ask for help. So, being willing to have the courage to ask for help and admit you have a problem. I mean, you need to be able to admit that to yourself and to others to get that support. And aligning with positive people. I mean, and people who want you to thrive and want you to do well. Like, clearly, if you want to get sober, but you're still hanging out with other addicts, that's going to affect your willpower, and your actions. So it's, really having the courage to look at yourself, because that was really scary for me too. For the longest time, I didn't want to look at myself, and that's why I wanted to numb myself with addictions, because I couldn't deal with my own shit. But it's having the courage to be like, okay, I'm ready to like peel back the layers and see what's going on in there, and see why I hate myself this much, that I don't want to give myself, the best things in life.
Yes. And I've worked with a lot of clients around their addiction, and it almost always comes back to a lack of self-esteem or self-value or self-love. And cultivating that can be incredibly hard if you're not used to it. And what you mentioned about surrender, that is the path to ultimate freedom. When you actually get to that point, and sometimes it's rock bottom, sometimes it's other times where he's like, I can't do this anymore, and you need to surrender and ask for help. That is so. It is an act of courage, and it is terrifying for most people, which is why they don't do it. But it is the path to ultimate freedom, because when you go inside and you face your demons, you face your darkness, then it has an opportunity to heal or be transmuted or to be released or reprogrammed, whatever it might need. So, yes.
And I always say my journey to self-love was one of the hardest and scariest things ever. It's not easy. It's not just like you snap your fingers like, oh, I'm going to love myself today. It's like there's multiple layers and layers of stuff
100%.
Going on there, and like you have to really be able to examine your blockages. And for me, I mean, the bottom line for me was I realized I hated myself so much because as a youngster I was told to hate myself.
Yes.
Like I realized over time these weren't my words, and this wasn't who I really was. It was told to me, and I was almost brainwashed into it. So it's like being willing to look at that, being willing to forgive, like that was a huge thing for me. Not only forgiving my abusers, but more so forgiving myself. Because I mean, we just do the best we can in every given moment in that day, right? And realizing that, so much of what happens to us, it's not our fault. Like, especially when it happens as a child. I mean, we're just trying to survive. So, again, having the courage to look at things, having the courage to forgive. I mean, for the longest time, I didn't want to forgive. I wanted to be angry. The anger was like helping me survive. And, part of me drinking and doing drugs and eating copious amounts of food was trying to stifle that anger and that self-hatred, right? So when I hit rock bottom, I suddenly, it became apparent to me that I was filled with anger and I never wanted to forgive anyone. But when I surrendered, that's when I started the process of like, okay, well, I need to look at this, because if I want to get out of this, I need to change something, and I need to change my energy and my outlook on things. And the only way to move forward is to forgive. And the only way to move forward was me to start to be grateful for who I was, which included my past. And I couldn't move forward without forgiving my past and being grateful for my past, which is daunting. Like, if you're not ready for that, you're like, you want to be the victim, right?
Yeah,
you want to be like, I don't want to let this go. But there came a point where I'm like, I have to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What you're talking about is victim consciousness, where it's not our fault, but at the same time, we need to take responsibility for it, right? And that's a difficult thing. It was a difficult thing for me to understand, certainly, because when we are children, that's where most of our trauma comes from, and we are innocent and vulnerable. And so when we realize that we've been taken advantage of, it's very easy to blame. It's very easy to, externalize all of our pain onto other people, and it manifests in different ways. Addiction is a massive one. But making that shift in mindset from everything that happened for me, not to me. And if you can shift that was like, wow, okay, I get it now. And that becomes your medicine. That becomes the elixir that you can now overcome and then bring to as your unique gift to contribute to the world, right? And that little shift in mindset, although it's difficult, is a life changer, right? And so if you're looking for to escape from your addiction or your trauma and move into a positive life purpose, this is the way to do it. Be open to looking at all of your shit, healing it, and then using that knowledge, your experience, to help other people do the same thing. And that brings so much meaning.
It's shifting the energy, right? It's going from victim mentality to a more empowered human being.
Yes, creative consciousness. Beautiful. I wanted to ask about your father, because I know that you have been instrumental in his healing. And my father also has Alzheimer's. He's in late stages now, but I know you've been instrumental in helping your father heal from cancer and also from the effects of Alzheimer's. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey with my father. I guess, let's see, about 18 years ago now, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer that moved to bone cancer, and they gave him less than 10 months left to live.
Wow.
And he radically changed his diet and changed his lifestyle and started meditating, doing yoga in his mid-60s. And basically, he cured his cancer, which was phenomenal. At the time, I was going to nutrition school. So we were, both kind of teaching each other about food and using food as medicine. And I was learning about all these cases in school about people who actually healed their cancer. And then I was watching my father do it at the same time. So it was a really cool experience. And that experience has really impacted me in the nutritionist I am and the human I am and the, how I do my work, because I was able to really witness somebody who was told that they had less than 10 months left to live, not accept that diagnosis, or at least try. He was like, if I die doing this, at least I'm trying to do something.
Yeah.
And I really thought he was going to die at that time. And I just watched miraculously that he changed not only his cell structure on the inside, but also his frame of mind. He changed the way he looked at his life. He dealt a lot with his emotional issues or things that he was holding onto in his life that was causing dis-ease.
Yes.
So there was a lot of that was huge for me to see the emotional component of disease.
Yes.
And then watch him as I graduated from school. He was diagnosed as cancer free, and nobody could believe it, which was crazy. And 30 minutos. Yeah, por favor. Then let's see, 6 years ago, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Like, he's in his 80s now. And we put him into an old age home. I was creating my center here at the time. I would go to visit him and I'd be mortified at what they were giving him to eat. I'd be, mortified at the energy in there. I don't know if you've ever been in an old age home, but like, everyone's depressed. Yeah. Everyone's screaming. People were crying. They're sat in front of a TV watching the news the whole time. I tried my best to talk to them about feeding him better food and whatnot, but it just never stuck. And then I had this epiphany one day as I was building my place here. I was like, why do I have all this land and I'm building a wellness center and I could easily build my dad a house and get him a caregiver for really cheap. And he's in a home in Toronto. So I told my brother and my sister this, epiphany that I had. I'm like, oh my God, I need to take dad to northern Nicaragua with me and I'll take care of him here. It'll be so cheap and, it'll be so good for his health. And they were like, absolutely not. Like, are you nuts? Like, you want to take our dad out of a home and you want to take care of our dad who has Alzheimer's in northern Nicaragua. And his doctor actually was, they thought it was nuts. And but I've always been kind of the black sheep of the family.
Yep, me too.
Traveling and doing crazy things. Well, crazy. And his doctor, my dad's doctor, was fully on board. And he was like, I think this is the best thing for him. Like, he needs to go. So my brother, he accepted it. He said, let's just do a trial run. Right. So we did a trial run for what was supposed to be a month. It only ended up being 19 days. And my father drastically improved in 19 days. And I blogged all about it. And I put it on my website if any of your viewers want to see it. But the photos of him from day 1 to day 19 are miraculous. And I basically treated it as his own private Alzheimer's retreat. I gave him the best menu I could for brain health, for anti-inflammatory health. We did exercise every day with I literally used massive papayas and got him to do weight workouts with papayas.
Awesome.
I would take a chair and put him in front of a coconut tree and say, okay, Papa, today's your day to draw this. So I gave him drawing exercises. We did puzzles. I walked him to the beach every day and I pretty much tried to carry him. He came in a wheelchair and he left with a cane in 19. And we did earthing meditations and, I just basically every moment of the day, I gave him my full attention. I had no clients at the time. And I did whatever I could to stimulate him as a human organism. So, and that's what I looked at. I looked at, what does this human organism need to thrive with food? What kind of environment does it need to be in? How much does he need to move? How can we stimulate his creativity? We sang child nursery rhymes. I really he was my baby and he still is. And he just got better and better. And literally the day when he came here, we're on the plane, he couldn't even string a sentence together. He would say one thing, stare into space, not finish the sentence, say something else. He just couldn't, his brain wasn't working properly. And then by the end of it, he was laughing, and happy. And I had to bring him back in 19 days because I still wasn't finished construction here and I was still traveling for business. And I brought him back 6 months later. My brother and my sister and the doctors, they could not deny. They're like, whatever you've done is amazing for him. And the nurses were taking notes and
wow. So did it last when he got back, those changes?
Yeah, I prayed every day because I was really nervous he was going to die or really revert back. He did revert back a little bit. But I would write affirmations all over his wall in his home, saying, you're going to Nicaragua in this state. And I would get people to go visit him and remind him that he was going to Nicaragua.
Awesome.
So we kind of tried to hold on to that. And then, let's see, 6 months later, I brought him here and I couldn't build him a home right away. And I couldn't find him a caregiver. So what ended up happening was that I had to share a room with him for 1 year. It took me 1 year to actually find somebody. Wow. So that was interesting because he's my dad and we had separate beds, but we shared a bathroom and some mornings I would go to teach yoga and I come in and he's wearing one of my crop tops off his shoulder, he was doing really funny things but I would be mortified and, I had to learn how to shower him and he was wearing diapers. So I had to change his diaper. So I had to learn a lot while I just opened my retreat center here. And then finally I was able to afford building him a little home. So I built him an earth bag home. I finally found somebody to live with him. So he has somebody full-time that lives with him there.
He's still with you?
okay. And I guess it's been how long? Like 3 years, just over 3.5 years. My intention with him was never to get him off meds. You know, I really just wanted to provide a place for him, you know, maybe improve a little bit. We've always been told that you cannot reverse Alzheimer's. So I really believe that. And I just wanted him to die here in a happy place, like in my presence, in nature. I just wanted to gift him this happy, beautiful death, really. And I never in a million years imagine that he would improve. So in the 3 years, I've gotten him off all his medications. Wow. He was on 4 medications. I just kept noticing as he was eating cleaner and getting better that the medications were making him pass out. Right. And he would literally, within minutes of taking it, he would pass out, like fall asleep sitting up, even after a meal. And I was just like, okay, this is obviously, these are starting to become too strong as he's getting cleaner. So I would just like, you know, I take off a little nugget and just give him a little less. And then just over time, I noticed he was just getting better and better with less medication. And one of his medications, he was on antidepressants for 35 years. He's off his antidepressants. He's been medication free now for over 2 years. Wow. So he literally, the man laughs all day long. He's smiling all day long. He's never upset. He's always like, thank you. He's always cracking jokes, hits on the ladies here. Like, I do feel a big part of his success is that he's surrounded by beautiful women all the time, and he loves it.
That's a bonus. Yeah.
So, he just like, it's amazing. And people are always like, wow, you're so lucky to have a dad like this, who's like, just so happy all the time. Like, what a wonderful life he must've had. And I'm like, you know what? I know my dad is angry and depressed most of my life. So this is phenomenal that I've watched a human being, not only get off his meds, but his short-term memory has come back, which is crazy. Like, he remembers things all the times. Like, I mean, yes, it comes in waves, like he is 87, but he will remember something that just happened 5 minutes ago or yesterday. He'll remember people. He'll be like, oh, I met you before, which is amazing because he wasn't like this in the beginning. But more than anything, like, his personality has so changed, and like, he's just so happy. He's like a child laughing. And, you know, the nurses pulled me aside when I took him full time, and they said, do you know what you're doing? Like, you have to be ready. Like, it's only going to get worse from here. Right. It's not going to get better. He's going to get abusive. Like, you need to be ready for what's coming. So, you know, I kept that in the back of my head, but I thought, you know, I'll deal with that when the time comes. I just knew I had to try. And I knew worst case scenario, if it got out of hand or if I couldn't handle it, I could always bring him home. Right. So anyways, it's been amazing. Like, he's just the happiest man alive. And he's just it's been so amazing for me as his daughter, as a nutritionist, as a human being, like, just to watch what's possible even when doctors say that's not possible. Yes. And also, you know, anything and everything's possible. And I just, no matter how old somebody is, no matter what they're diagnosed with or labeled with, if you put a human organism in the right environment and you give a human organism everything it needs to survive, and you go down the list of like what makes a human survive, there's still intelligence and there's still creativity left in them and joy. So that has been amazing because, you know, we're always told, like, once you get older, like, that's like, you know, in the old age home, they were just trying to keep people safe. It wasn't about thriving. And, you know, that's just like, bless the nurses. They work so hard, but nobody's trying to improve anyone. They're just kept safe there till they die. And I've watched somebody reverse stuff and thrive.
Yes. What a powerful story, Grace. Wow. So inspiring. The power of intention and nurturing yourself with positivity, both in your mind and then through nutrition. Incredibly, incredibly powerful, the work you're doing. And I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into, say, people that aren't, you know, haven't suffered any disease yet, to recognize that they are in control. They are incredibly powerful. Their body is incredibly powerful. When we come into alignment with ourselves, we can heal almost anything. We can transmute and transform our energy energy and our mindset. We are so incredibly powerful, and we've been conditioned or programmed to believe that we aren't. And I think that's one of the biggest tragedies of modern society. So a lot of the work I do is inspiring people to do the deeper inner work, to discover their true power, and then to bring it out and express it into the world. And one of the main things that is nutrition and taking care of your body. What comes in not only with food and drink, but energy. What energy are you allowing in? What energy are you transmitting, right? Because you spoke about earlier how energy can transmit into disease very quickly. So example, if we have anger or trauma or unresolved emotions that are within us that are not being processed, they're looking to manifest. And that can be anger, that can be outbursts, that can be abuse, it can be disease, it can be depression. All sorts of things can manifest when we don't do that inner work. So incredibly powerful.
I've been a holistic nutritionist for 15 years now. And, the majority of what I do is coach people with food and how to inflammation and use food as medicine. But what I've learned over these last 15 years now is that I really believe the mental component is stronger than actually the physical.
100%.
And what we hold on to in our hearts and our minds is going to help us flourish or not flourish. And hanging on to our inner resentments and not really looking at ourselves. And, that's what ultimately can make us sick. There's such a huge emotional component to this in combination with what you're eating. Yes.
And incredibly relevant right now, I think, with everything that's going on in the world. It's to take control of your own nutrition, of your own health, right? Because like we said, our bodies and our minds are incredibly powerful. When we're in coherence and we're grounded and we've done the work to heal any unresolved traumas or emotions, you can heal from anything. You can overcome anything. And so, we're living in a world right now where we're addicted to pharmaceuticals. We're addicted to the medical industry to show us the answers, and it's not a holistic integrative approach. And I think what the work you're doing is so powerful in reminding people that they are powerful, right? Yeah. And so
and it's so interesting, like everything that I teach and everything that I stand for as a holistic nutritionist and a health coach and as a yoga teacher, everything that has helped me heal my life and I try and teach my clients is so relevant right now. Totally. It's just like, I feel like my whole life has been made for this moment and trying in these times to like everything I've been speaking about is so relevant now. And it's so interesting with everything that's happening, especially like the censorship and stuff, that suddenly all the things I've been talking about, many of us have been talking about for so many years, suddenly it's controversial, and suddenly it's wrong. And I'm like, I've been talking about this for 15 years. And I've even had people turn on me saying like, calling me a quack or whatever, because I'm talking about the same things. I'm like, you've been listening to me for 15 years. And now suddenly my stuff's not making sense, but a whole other tangent, but
well, I think there's a dissonance there, and I think it comes from trauma, resolved trauma, right? So if you have collective trauma in a populace, it's very easy to manipulate. It's very easy to control, right? And so if people are scared or in fear, you can get them to do anything. Right. And if it's in the name of profit, then of course we want, the market is going to want to do that, whether it's good for them or not. That's just the basis of capitalism. That's the world we live in, unfortunately. But if you do the work to take your control, you take your power back by resolving your unresolved trauma or healing, then you're less easily manipulated. You get less sick. You have more sovereignty. Like, this is how we change the world, really. Right.
Yeah, I mean, so many people haven't done their inner work.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you haven't done your inner work, it's hard to really look at the world any other way right now, or even understand that there's possibly some deception going on. Yeah. Because if you haven't done the work, how are you going to fit into a world that is crumbling before your eyes? Like, you can't even see it, because then who are you? Yeah. Who are you? If the world is a lie, then who are you in those lies? And, I feel like a lot of people have their unresolved trauma, or they live in a state of anxiety and depression all the time, that they're not able to peel back those layers or dismantle themselves in a crumbling paradigm. So,
identity. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was trying to stop drinking, it was very difficult because I was identified with it. It was my identity that I had built, even if it was painful and causing me harm and ultimately illusory. It was what I knew. And so letting go of it was scarier because the unknown is always scarier than the known, even if it's painful or if it's uncomfortable, right? And that's what I think a position a lot of people are in right now is like, wait a minute, if this whole facade, this whole identity, this whole life I've built for myself is a lie or it's based on lies, then what the hell am I? What the hell is this world? They have no idea what reality is, so they'd prefer to hang on to that identity, even in the face of evidence or, the stuff that's coming to light, right? And so that creates a cognitive dissonance, and then they just want to lash out and want to protect that identity at all costs, even if it's not in their best interest, which is tragic, right? And that's what we're seeing at scale. But I keep coming back to what can we do practically as individuals, and exactly what we're talking about, taking responsibility for your own health on every level, and not going into blame, not going into victim consciousness, really taking responsibility for everything is the path to your freedom and your power. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Yes. Okay. To that end, then what are some of the practices and techniques that you personally use or with your clients to help people stay grounded, stay healthy, stay creative?
Yeah, I mean, taking care obviously of your nutrition is important because your
Huge.
nutrition is not only going to affect your energy levels, but it's also going to affect your mental perception of life. And
Yeah. So
there's so many stresses and challenges right now, even before any of this happens. So
for sure.
you want to make sure that you're eating things that are helping your body to thrive and work
Yes.
efficiently and reduce inflammation and stabilizing your blood sugar.
Yes.
And helping you digest your food well and helping you eliminate your toxins efficiently. Like all
Mm.
these things matter. And it's, people really need to understand, like, this is our vessel.
Yes.
And we need to take care of our vessel. If you don't take care of your vessel, it is going to compromise your lens on life. It is going to compromise like how you go through life. Do you go through life grudgingly, slowly, with pain in the body? Or are you moving easily with joy, with peace, with clarity, connected to your intuition, able to handle your emotions and stress? Like you can control that. And it's amazing to me how many people still don't realize they can control how they're moving through their life, right?
Totally.
Physically and mentally. And that's my job. That's what I try to teach people.
Awesome. And so when it comes to diet or protocols, is there one thing that you subscribe to, or is it sort of personalized for each different person?
Yeah, I mean, what I do here in my wellness center, it's all plant-based eating. I have a level 1 to level 8 cell health program, I call it.
Awesome.
Level 1 being more beginner level. Like, I've never eaten vegetables in my life. I eat meat at every meal. I'm very scared to be here. Whereas like mid-range goes into more live foods, raw foods, Ayurvedic herbs, superfoods, and then level 8's more liquids. So I kind of assess where people are at and put them in the appropriate level. Some people are here for a week, some are here for 5 weeks, 3 months, whatever. We figure that out. I am plant-based because I do believe that a plant-based experience is the quickest way to help a person's body recalibrate. But I have many clients who come to me and say, don't even try to make me vegan. I'm not going to leave here being vegan, but I do want to change my health, and don't even try. So I would say like 75% of my clients actually are not vegan.
Right.
I don't push veganism on anyone. I think it's much more than being vegan anyway. To be honest, I hate using the word vegan because I don't think that's really indicative of health.
Yeah.
I like to use more like fresh foods, real foods, whole foods,
right.
Unprocessed foods. Excuse me. 75% of my clients are still eat animal products, but we do so in a more conscious way and a clean way. My forte comes in helping people eat more vegetables, no matter what style of eating they want to do. So most people that come here are imbalanced or unhealthy in some way. And if I were to look at their health history or their food journals, they're not getting enough nutrition. They're not getting enough fiber or hydration. They're not stabilizing their blood sugar. They have too much inflammation. There's a whole list of things going on. And most people don't eat enough veggies or even know how to prepare them properly. So no matter what style of eating people want to be or how like no matter what style they want to be. Basically, I'm teaching people how to implement more vegetables and more fresh vegetables in their life. Everything we do is natural here. Everything is made from scratch, nothing packaged, nothing processed. Everything is from what nature provides here. I'm all about using what's local.
Yes.
Everything is done we do like half cooked, half raw. If you go up the ladder, like up the levels of my health programs, and sometimes we'll do more raw depending on the person's health and what's going on with them.
Right.
Everything is as anti-inflammatory as possible. Everything is clean as possible, organic as possible. I'm trying to grow as much food as possible on my land, so we're getting there.
Yeah, awesome.
A big part of the process here is eating with community, eating slowly, feeling grateful for your food, taking the time to enjoy your foods, viewing food and eating as our meditations.
Yeah.
So it's just like the whole place here is about slowing down.
Awesome.
Slowing down so that we can start to feel better, but also start to see our own blockages. People can't really see where they're limiting themselves in their own lives if you're go all the time and like constantly being distracted. So it's all about, not only cleansing here and getting healthier and recalibrating our health, but just getting clear on what to do moving forward. Like what's working for you and what's not working for you. And clearly, like if people are here, obviously there's stuff not working for them. So everyone's different, but we're just looking at all like the way that everybody is living and figuring out like, okay, what can I change when I go back home?
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. And the energy and intention you bring to everything you do, but food specifically, like when I have dinner with my kids, we all say something we're grateful for, and we send positive intention and energy into the food. And before we eat, it's just so powerful and makes such a difference. That's awesome. All right, Grace, thank you so much. I know you're busy, so I'm going to let you go, but one more question. If you were to take all of your experiences, all your knowledge and wisdom gained, and distill them down into one message or one sentence, what would it be?
This is something I say all the time. Anything and everything is possible. And the only thing, like that's my phrase, but what that means really is like the only thing that is limiting us is ourselves. Yes. And our perceptions of things. And that's like the biggest thing I've learned working with my dad, twice now, who was told like his diseases weren't reversible, but they are, and I mean, I guess it's not for everyone either, but it is possible. So, some of the things I've gone through trying to build my center here that I didn't think I would be able to do, I did, because I opened up my mind to it and I surrendered and I asked for help and I persevered and I set an intention and I set a goal. And, as humans, we can really do whatever we want. We can achieve anything, but we just have to want to, and we have to believe it.
Yes. Awesome. Grace Van Berkum, thank you so much for your time and sharing your magic and wisdom today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Pat. It was great talking to you.
You too. Talk to you real soon. Bye.
Bye.